All right, back out here for another session. Just going to check in with where this horse is at today, just review our bending with vertical again. It's kind of our standard warm-up procedure, although over time I want to be doing less of it, but it's important to start and end the ride on a relaxed note, especially if it's a skill that they're good with, that they've mastered, but it's also, you can make it engaging enough to get them listening. That bending circle I really like because if he's distracted or wayward with his focus and his body, I can tighten things up. I can challenge him a little bit. If he comes out super relaxed and dialed in right away, listening to me, I can be more chill with it, but I can still talk to him a little bit and kind of set the table, starting the ride on a relaxed note. So it just creates or helps you establish good habits either way. The thing with this bending with vertical exercise, what most people get wrong with it is they assume that because it's a suppling exercise that there's not a lot of forward motion, and that's not the case. The more you advance your suppling and your bending, you get very particular about maintaining a certain amount of forward energy in the horse's feet and in their body. We talk about getting that shoulder coming over the top and the horse kind of stepping through themselves. That's extremely important. Otherwise, if you don't have a sufficient enough amount of forward motion, you're not really challenging the horse to orient their balance in the right ways. Things are not connected to your hands in the right way. You're just kind of allowing them physically to fold in half. And like we've talked about before, that can become a detriment to your program if you leave that hole unchecked, where you do so much suppling to get the horse soft. What you end up doing, unfortunately, is giving them a master class in how to hide from your hands and legs. So when you really want to take a hold of them, it becomes difficult. The balance that we have to achieve in training is we have to kind of balance the scale between impulsion and steering, meaning go forward, follow your nose, let me guide you, versus suppling and yielding, meaning move your body, shift your balance, more concentrated training. We got to kind of train those initially on two separate tracks and then blend them together, but in a smart way where we don't destroy either one. Because if we just focus on the go forward, follow your nose all day, we've got a horse that has good energy, they've got good drive, they can go forward and they can follow a feel and guide. But you go to do anything that requires balance or finesse, they're stiff as a freaking board. If you over-index on the body control stuff and the suppling and yielding, though, you lose the connection to the feet. So you see people that are very entrenched in either camp. You've got trainers that talk about softening and suppling and getting a horse feather light, and they've kind of sold out to the idea of like feather light softness. And then on the flip side, you've got trainers that have sold out to the idea of forward follow the nose being like their holy grail. And they don't do the body control stuff until later when they really do need a lead change on the horse. And then they're ramming, jamming them into it. We've talked about creating a lattice work that gives the horse a base of knowledge to make sense of things. And that's a great example of if you neglect that, and then you go to try to put a lead change on the horse, they're going to be very lost because they never really learned how to accept being trained on. We talk about mental softness a lot in our program, and that's a huge component. I've kind of in my career oscillated back and forth between sort of the natural horsemanship, clinician, problem-solving sort of guru world and the performance and showing world. I grew up showing Western pleasure. My first professional job in the horse industry was in a cutting barn. So cutting was kind of my first Western performance, in addition to Western pleasure. That's what I grew up doing in 4-H and stuff. And then I got into rein cow horse later. But in the gaps in between, it was a lot of natural horsemanship, lessons, clinics, coaching, kind of deep in that horsemanship world. And both worlds have a lot to teach each other. The performance people shit on the natural horsemanship stuff, because they see those horses as overflexed, dull, nothing's collected or connected in the right ways. There's no immediacy. They basically see it as, you know, it's fodder for the masses, essentially. It's for unserious horse people. The golden goose that they kill when they do that is the one big gift that natural horsemanship gave to everybody, which was this concept of the horse learning how to accept the training process itself, rather than just being bucketed and slam banged into maneuvers. You know, you can develop a level of rapport and mental softness in a horse where they understand the training. And if you combine that with a performance mindset, meaning a higher level of do it now, a focus on more balance and immediacy, and building some real skills as opposed to just drifting around and kind of flittering and dabbling like the natural horsemanship crowd, if you combine the best of both, you've got something special. But the natural horsemanship people look at the show horse world and they see horses that are basically shut down, turned into robots. Like, this is the narrative. I'm not saying that's reality, but both sides have an emotional narrative about the other. If they would talk to each other more, they could learn from each other. The performance people need to get better at understanding the horse's psychology and the mental game. They're too focused on mechanics. The natural horsemanship crowd is so lost in philosophy and psychology, they neglect the actual practical skills to a certain extent. So we need to have some balance here and kind of move beyond those paradigms and integrate things a little bit better. That's what I try to do in my program now. All right, so he feels good here. So what we're going to do, building off of the themes we've been developing, I'm going to do a couple turnarounds on the foot, and then we're going to go straight to making that into a transition. In the last session, we did a few out of a trot, and then we loped some circles. I want to do more transition work today, especially out of a lope. We've started that process. Now we really need to take that to a higher level. So we're going to work on that here for a few minutes. Okay. Good. I'm going to let him have that. It was maybe a little bit too much backup for my taste, but the way he's coming back to me, and like a human athlete refers to getting into an athletic position or getting into their legs, getting your center of gravity lower. In his case, using his hindquarters, using his hocks. That's what I want to feel. So if they back up too much, they're not able to load up like that in the right ways. That's not necessarily what we want. But it's better to be thinking back than thinking forward. His historical tendency has been to be way too forward in this. So if he's, kind of thinking about loading up a little bit, maybe even a little bit too much, that's okay for my taste. Typically, I'm having to shut him down from going too forward. Being too scrambly. There. Okay. Didn't quite center that, meaning, I could still feel him kind of shifting around. He was a little bit unsure about his balance. He was really trying there. Do a couple more. Take him into that. Again, part of what I'm trying to do here is have him allow me to touch him with the neck rein. So I'm bringing that on, even if I feel like I wouldn't need it ordinarily. He needs to feel it. Kind of like when you get on a green colt for the first time and you're doing the first couple rides, even if they're good and you don't need to, squeeze cluck, over and under spank, even if they don't need the spanker to kind of haze them forward and get forward motion, you do it anyway to expose them to that so they're not surprised if you ever have to. In his case, he's a little bit surprised about the neck rein coming on, so even though I don't need it, I want it to be there, and he needs to learn how to process that. Okay. There we go. I should be able to, have a little bit more control of his balance. He's not shifting around like there, where he tries to be fast. Load up into yourself. There we go. Let me stay with you a bit. So that's what we want. And the thing with this horse is, once he starts mastering his balance there, he's so athletic. I mean, it's going to go to the next level like overnight, basically, once he figures that out. What he's got to do, though, is just get really solid, like muscle memory understanding of the balance point to get to, especially with his hind end. Just to make it feel more solid. Okay. Now, there we go. Quiet down a little bit. Yes. Let the aids come on and feel that so you can actually assess what I want rather than just bouncing off me. That's all I was doing because he was doing good there, but I was just waiting for that energy to just fall just a tad because this is not meant to be fast. It's not a rollback, although it's a big piece of one later. But we're not doing a maneuver here. This is a training tool. Just like the bending with vertical, you don't rush this. This is not meant to be something that's hectic, that we're, ripping him back over his hocks. This is not a spin. This is not a maneuver. It's a specific tool that's going to serve us in other areas. Kind of like a side pass. There's no side passing and reining, but we need to have that lateral control on a horse to do other things. Same concept here. We need to have an ability to take him into a movement that gets him into his legs and shifts his balance in a particular way. That's going to help him with stops and rollbacks, especially. It's also a good correction tool in other areas. Okay? Again, just waiting on him to find a little more consistent balance because he takes a couple good steps, then he kind of loses it. What I'm looking for is just a hair more commitment now that he's starting to get the positioning. Okay? Again, he's thinking spin right there. I just touched him lightly with my leg. I'm going to slow him down, but keep that leg on and show him, no, that's not what I want. I want something different here. Yes, more like that, kind of. Okay. Part of my goal here, too, what I'm trying to do, just like in our circles and our transition drills, I'm trying to encourage him to settle onto the bridle here, meaning when I go to draw my inside hand, we've talked about getting him connected to the neck rein and feeling that, but it's even at a more basic level with the inside rein. When I draw that rein toward my inside hip and bend his nose, I would like it if he would only bend the amount of degrees that I'm asking for. Like if I pick up and I go to bend his nose 90, I want him to just stay there, kind of like he's doing now. There's light contact on the rein, and he's just leaving his nose there where I'm asking him to. He's not doing more than I'm asking, and he's not doing less. Now there he's looking at something, but you get the idea. If I ask for 90 degrees or 70 degrees or 45, the horse only goes that amount. They don't go less and they don't go more. What he tends to do is get like overambitious and kind of disappear from that rein, meaning he's bending more than I'm really asking for, which contributes to him scrambling around and losing his balance a little bit in that turn on the foot. The idea with turn on the foot, just to clarify that aspect of it, we want enough bend in the horse's body that it physically makes it somewhat difficult here. This is not a backup where we're keeping them straight. We're technically trying to get them deliberately off balance just enough to be compelling enough and challenging enough to get the horse thinking about, how do I use my balance in a more efficient way to unlock this puzzle, right? You can think of it as something like conservation of energy, like in physics or something. And that's basically what we're going for with that, is like, it has to be deliberately difficult enough that it's challenging. But if the horse is too cranked around, it's too hard, and then they get stuck. The exercise doesn't work. It's way too hard to get their balance if they're that bent. Same thing if they are too straight. Then it's not compelling enough and the exercise has no effect. You're just doing a spin basically, or like a crappy cow horse turn. You're not getting any real engagement. There I'm pushing him forward actually with my inside foot for that reason. Engagement. Let me take a hold of you a little bit with that rein. When he really wants to disappear from it, sometimes I'm deliberately bringing that inside leg on and blocking him from turning just until I can catch back up with my hand and apply that tension. Because if I did that without bringing the leg on, he would just start spinning really fast. That's not really what I want in this case. Okay. Overall, like there, I'm feeling a sense of confidence and just an allowance of me picking up, but an honest, like intentful waiting energy in him where he's not trying to overflex himself. He's not trying to scramble. He's not trying to artificially connect dots that don't exist yet. If I haven't told him to go fast, I don't want him to think, go fast. So he's waiting on me a bit and he's listening more. So that's a good development. I'm going to go the other way here. Again, this is the kind of stuff that, things happen slowly and then all at once. It takes a while to build something like this, especially if the horse has never done anything like it. I mean, this is something I'll do fairly early on in training. And we talk about that, obviously, with the course and the pathway that we're on, when that occurs. But if they've never had that, it's kind of maddeningly slow to build it initially, but once the horse gets it, they really get it. Because they realize they can do something that's challenging like this with their balance. And they don't have to get mentally hyped up about it. I want my horses to be somewhat in the model of like a professional athlete. You took the average person off the street, or me, I'll just use myself as an example. Let's say you threw me into a teleporter and I suddenly popped out in the middle of the NFL combine with like the little shirt on and everything that those guys wear. And they're like, all right, Lundahl, you're up next. You're going to do the 60-yard dash or the plyometrics or the vertical jump or whatever, right? Well, you got guys doing that have trained their whole lives, and they can make insanely intense athletic moves with their body, and it's literally like another day at the office for them, whereas I'd be in a wheelchair at the end of the day trying to keep up, right? That's basically mentally the level of like coolness and collectedness under pressure that we want to nurture in our horses. They can do intensive athletic things while staying mentally cool as a cucumber. Now, why is that important or interesting? Because horses, by their nature, their psychology, their brain is very much tied to what their feet are doing. There was a really kind of a controversial video game released a few years ago. It was in the Fallout video game series. It had a ton of bugs, and it was famous for being like almost unplayable when it came out. One of the hilarious things about that game, though, is that the frame rate or the rate of the video in the game that you see on the screen was tied to your in-game movement speed. So as you're playing the game, if you make your character run faster, the screen works better. That's like the simplest way I can explain it. So people were making memes about that and joking about that because the people playing that game, in order to have a high frame rate, were like racing around doing everything unnecessarily fast, and it was hilarious. But that is a somewhat good analogy for how a horse's brain works. Just naturally, unless we teach them otherwise, they tend to associate their feet moving quickly with threat, heightened amounts of stress, or them being in trouble. So it takes some deliberate training to get them to understand that just because your feet are moving quickly or we're doing something difficult does not mean you're in trouble. Okay, but that is, you look at mature horses that are really good show horses, performance horses, or working ranch horses, or even just recreational steady eddies. They're able to perform to a certain extent and do things that are counterintuitive for a horse, that are tough physically, but they're able to do it with a sense of calmness and confidence. Okay, so we're getting actually to that level. I can feel changes in him already in terms of his mentality around this drill. What I'm going to start doing here, even though it's not perfect, it's good enough and better enough. I'm going to start doing my transitions right now from jog to walk, and then lope, or I'm sorry, from a jog to a turn on the foot, and then a lope to a turn on the foot. We'll throw in a couple of down shifts and up shifts in between there. Okay, just kind of corral him. Again, I widen my hand. Get your balance. You can see those feet kind of, going everywhere sometimes. You just got to get more settled. There, learn how to get connected to the ground and maintain that. It's kind of like a cutting horse that's really quick and athletic, that doesn't hold the ground very well and is not secure in the stop. They kind of dance around and they're off balance as a result. That's kind of what he's like here in this exercise. He just kind of oscillates around. He's not secure and settled. So I'm trying to help him find that spot. I know he's taking a dump, but he can poop and turn. Put a little pressure on him there. That actually wasn't terrible. Again, he's still moving that hind end more than I'd ideally like. He needs to find more of a secure, and you can feel when they do that, because you can feel them sit into their hind end a little bit, and it feels like their withers come up slightly within that little turn. Kind of a checkpoint you can think about. Kind of like how in a sliding stop, if you feel the front end go down, it wasn't good, right? It wasn't engaged, it wasn't committed. Same thing with this. If I feel his front end going down, that's not good. It needs to go up almost. Kind of like that saddle horn wants to poke me in the belly a little bit. So what that means is he's getting back into himself. His withers, as a consequence, are higher then. Okay? Not bad. Like, he's really trying there. Again, today, he's found a little bit more backward energy than before. He's kind of gone to the other side of the scale, as opposed to being so forward like he was initially. That's common. They're going to try some things until they find it. Let's go to the right. Just draw him around. I want him to sit into that left hip here. That actually isn't bad. I wish he'd let me touch his face here. There. No, kind of lost it there. There. He held it longer that time. That was pretty good on his part. That's the thing now, is like I'm starting to feel a lot more consistent good things from him. So I'm just going to gradually keep pushing that envelope a little bit more and more and more, to where I'm staying in that longer. Before, I was happy to just get any sort of try at all. Now I'm being a little bit pickier. Let's go back to the left. Again, kind of block him there. Now we completely lost the hind end, right? That's what this is designed to help fix. And take him back into it here. There we go. He's just having a little trouble. I just kind of caught him with my hands there. Like, again, putting the brake on if he's trying to turn too quick. Come on, get off that outside leg. Ironic that I'm saying that now, but that's what he needed just then. Good job. He's more sucked back today. It's just two sides of the same coin. A lot of times you'll feel that. One session, they're trying to squirt forward out of it. Another session, you've almost got to push them forward a bit because they're trying to back up too much. It's just a young horse trying to find their balance, trying to make it make sense. There, we're wandering all over. I'm just going to keep my legs in him here. Maybe push him forward a step or kind of block him. There. Just say, hey, find some ground here. Like post up, get into your legs a little bit and stick with me here. We're not backing up. At least my purpose is not to get in a backing up contest. Oh. Now, he's very stiff there. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go back to stopping him and getting him flexed here. If he won't stand still and allow that, I might do that a time or two. If he's over-anticipating that. Again, when that inside leg is on, my left leg in this case means shape. Put that shoulder where it's supposed to be. Don't just lose your hip here. There we go. No. Come on, hold that for me, please. Nope. If I have to go to the fence again, I will to fix this. I may have to. See him dancing around? That's what we need to eliminate. He needs to get more solid about, like when I take a shape like that or pick up on him, find the ground. Create a platform for yourself so you can move efficiently. What we have is a lot of wasted movement. Ooh. Good. Good job. Yep. Sometimes I'll ask you to move, sometimes not. Inside leg goes on. Get outside leg wedged up under him if he's losing my spot here. Again, you can just see all that desire to move around. It's like a green running back in football that's sitting there taking choppy false steps instead of just starting with their feet on the ground firmly so they can push off and be quick. That's basically, if you want to think about it that way, he takes a lot of false steps rather than being efficient with his balance and his movement. Come on. There we go. Post up like that. Get some security in that. Good. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that if a horse has an issue with using the ground properly, they're going to have issues in the stop, no matter how athletic they are or how much they want to stop. Because they aren't good with their balance, they can't hold the ground properly. And some horses are very good about that naturally. Others have to be, they're almost too athletic for their own good. You have to nurture an ability to be secure in the ground. Like some cutting horses are so quick. A lot of your training focuses on actually making them slow down, get to the ground, and be secure in it before they do anything else. Because that way they learn how to use that as a platform to make a balanced move. It's basically what he needs to learn too, is like, even though we're in a different realm with the reining, it's still a similar idea. Create a platform for yourself so you can be more efficient. I'm going to go to the right here because I haven't in a while. It's probably good that I do that for that reason here. Excellent. What I'll do is I'll start mixing and matching this in a second, where sometimes I turn and sometimes I just hold a shape. But I want to enforce that on both sides since he was kind of dancing around a little bit. Just going to remind him about this piece, and then we'll move ahead. Better thoughts there. Good job. There's a lot of reining horses that would be amazing reiners if people could get this put on them, because you know they're athletic enough. They're not like the stereotypical gunner horses that are like dull and dumb and naturally quiet. You got other reining bloodlines that are more athletic and quick-footed and feely. And sometimes those horses, they fall through the cracks in a program because they don't get help with things like this. They're so athletic, it's almost too much for their own good, and they're trying to do too much. You got to slow them down and focus on efficiency. Once they realize how much better it feels and how they're not in trouble if they do that, like they don't have to be dancing around trying to protect themselves. If they use their balance a little more efficiently, you'll help them, you'll wait on them in some cases. When they gain confidence with that, it's game changer, because now you've got a horse that is mentally very quiet and confident, but physically they have enough spark and athletic talent to be extremely pleasing to watch. That's how you get a $15,000 horse riding like a $50,000 horse. If you just know what to do with that. Just kind of wedging him up there. Okay, now we're going to mix and match it here. Those are checking out, so we'll go both sides. Just kind of play with that. Post up. Good. Now take her into it. Take him into it, rather. Now, it is a turn, so you have to move your shoulder. There we go. Like it to be a little more secure in the hind end, so I'm just wedging that outside leg up under him. There. Get on that outside hip here. I'll let him have it. He tried really hard. We'll get to that level of security that we want. Post up. Oh, just get shaped this time. Okay. This type of stuff really gets a horse listening, understanding the context clues between when you want movement versus when you want them to stand still. There, he just was a little bit too quick about it, so I put the brake on there. That is actually not bad. Again, it's a little quick. There, let me just stay with you there. Like the amount of tension on my inside rein is like 0 right now. I'd like it to be a little bit of light tension if possible. There we go. Okay, I'll let him have it. Post up here. Stuff like this too, it'll make a horse feel really solid between your legs. Like that kind of twitchy, like kind of bouncing off your legs type feeling a lot of horses have. It eliminates that. It makes them feel solid. Makes them feel confident. Because they're not bouncing off your legs. They know what to do. Get shaped. Now we'll go into it. Actually, not bad. I'm going to let him stand there. That was, on that side, probably the first time today that it felt like an A+ to start with. So I'm going to let him rest there. Now we're not done with the drill, but I want to draw a contrast in his mind. Like, that is right. That was correct. You do that, life gets easy. All right, let's trot on again. and we'll do this out of a lope too. You can imagine the mental amount of confidence a horse needs to have to lope across, stop, shape, get secure in that, and then maybe you move, maybe you don't. You're going from like an intense lope, high energy, to like absolute zero, pause and listen. The horse knowing how to navigate that transition can really build their mental skills. We start exposing them to that. The amount of confidence they get is like legendary. Post up, shape. If I feel, this is where it becomes a judgment call. If I feel twitchy, nervous energy, I just emphasize getting solid and just shaping up there. If I feel like he's ready though, I'll move him into that turn. Like here, he felt very settled. So then we're moving into this position here. Now, my outside leg is going pretty far back on his body because he's more backward today, and I'm just holding him up a little bit. There we go. Just stopping him from, I mean, they're going to do it sometimes regardless of what you do, but ideally I don't want him to think, oh, I'm backing a circle. It's not quite what I want. Still need to move the shoulder too. That is hard though. Like that, this exercise is deliberately difficult for that reason. They've got to be backward enough to load up into their legs, get into their legs, get into their hocks, but at the same time, they got to be moving their shoulder. They can't just back up in an arc. That was decent. Just checking in with you. What about over here? Okay. Maybe I take you into it. Okay, not bad, Mr. Horse. The reason I liked that is because, I might give that a B grade, but how he felt in his core, like through the middle of his body, was excellent. He felt really solid and comfortable there in that turn, as opposed to like bouncy, like quantum oscillation type weirdness going on. You know the feeling I'm talking about. It's kind of like when the horse twitches their sides at a fly. Kind of that twitchy, like pulsing energy. That's what they do with their muscles. If they're in a position like that where they're really not confident, they don't understand how to use their balance correctly, they're just warbling all over. We're trying to eliminate that noise and get him really solid. Like there, felt really good. Good pony. Just slowing him down slightly again, but he's really thinking good thoughts there. When I'm initially drawing to my hip, I'm getting the exact right feeling mentally of where he needs to be. Like he's starting to figure out there's a sweet spot in there where he's just backward enough to get into his hindquarters and get balance to facilitate the turn, but he's forward enough that he can still move his shoulder. Finding that balance point is tough, but once a horse gets that's the idea, and they start to gain confidence, it feels really good. There's a definite, unmistakable feeling in that's different than before. They're not just pivoting their shoulder, they're not just chasing their tail, and they're not backing a circle either. It's something totally new and different. Post up. Yeah, not bad. He's licking and chewing right there, so I let him have that. I seriously considered turning him. Do another one. Post up. Very settled there. Let's go into it. There's a little bit backward there. Find it. Putting the brake on. He's thinking. He's thinking. I'm going to let him have that right there. So what I felt just then is initially he started the turn too quick. I widened my outside hand and kind of put the brake on and slowed him down And then I felt him make a different move. He changed kind of the balance in the middle of his body and how he was using his hindquarters. He tried something completely different rather than just, trying to hammer away at the same thing. He shifted himself around a little bit. It's very subtle, but if you're riding one, you can feel that difference. Get posted up here. Ooh, very good. That felt solid as hell. Go this way. Shape up. Ooh, all right. How about we turn your ass? Uh-huh. Interesting. Because that feels broke. It's so rewarding, too. Now, again, this is like one Lego piece in Legoland. You know what I mean? Like, in the grand scheme of things, this one session means nothing. But we're getting glimpses of what he's capable of. At least I am, in terms of what I'm feeling. Ooh. That's it. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. That's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. It's rewarding to feel one gain that confidence because, again, in the grand scheme of things, it's one small drop. However, you add up a few of these wins, you suddenly walk out of the barn one day and you're like, shit, this thing feels solid. Like there's a level of maturity here that I didn't have a week or two ago. It's like it happens slow and then all at once. That's horses. It's a thinking man's game. Unless you just want to cowboy around and drink beer. Now that's fun too. So there's like different types of fun. In this game, fun is finding meaning and purpose, pursuing mastery, trying to finesse something. Because don't get me wrong, I like beer too. Let's be real about that. There's a time to be a dumb cowboy, and there's a time to be a horseman. There we go. Sometimes a little of both. Yeah, because there will be some people watching this, they're like, why not both? I'm like, touche. Let's trot off again. We're getting some shit now. I'm actually lingering on this longer than I planned just to let him keep practicing being good. I didn't expect it to feel this good already. But, when it comes to horses, there's a saying I keep in the back of my mind all the time. Never underestimate how wrong you can be. Anytime you start assuming shit, a lot of times you'll be proven incorrect. Sometimes in good ways, sometimes in bad ways. Ooh, fuck yeah. That's next level. And again, to the uninitiated, it looks like we're doing jack shit. It looks the same as the other sessions. But I promise you, there's a different feeling in this horse's body compared to before. And we're really training the mind here. Security check. We found it. There's still a little bit of quantum entanglement, a little bit of double slit experiment, a little bit of quantum energy going on. But we're getting closer to what is that? Yeah, see, that's what we need to eliminate is that type of stuff. because that's what comes out. Now imagine he was in a show and he did that in a rollback, right? Lost his balance and flailing around. That happens to people. It's happened to me. We can get him using the ground correctly, especially with sliders on. I mean, we're literally taking away their traction to facilitate doing the sliding stop maneuver. The least we can do is teach them to use the ground efficiently so they're not slipping around and falling on themselves in other times. Yeah, platonic solids. That's the word I was searching for earlier. We want platonic solids. We don't want quantum bullshit. Just leaving a little bit of inside leg on, and that felt really good. So it's like, again, I'm just helping facilitate his balance right there. Just, having that on, just like a little bit of a break for that turn, but I'm not having to do as much help as before. You notice I'm more consistently able when I do that to bring the neck rein across to my inside hip as well. And that means he's allowing me to connect that rein to him, and he's not trying to hide from it all day. That was good. Spoke too soon. Never underestimate how wrong you can be. A few years ago, so this was when I was younger, I did a lot of mounted shooting and Civil War reenacting. And I was talking to this reenactor guy because I had a friend of mine that was visiting. She comes out to my place. She rides a little bit. And, I've got this Mustang that I trained that it was pretty broke by my standards. And she's a jumper and can ride. And she's like, oh, can I take him over jumps? Like, you've got Cavalettis up there. Because I was jumping that son of a gun bridleless. And yeah, sure, go ahead. What happens? She gets freaking bucked off. And so I was talking with one of my friends after, and he's like, yep, as soon as you say anything, horses will find a way to embarrass you, especially if you're trying to impress a girl. Like, oh yeah, baby, he's broke. All of a sudden cracks in half and she goes flying. So I learned right then, never underestimate how wrong you can be and never promise shit, because horses will make you look foolish. Good. We're just going to do a couple of these. Then I'm actually going to test this out of a lope. Why not? Yeah, feeling some confidence there. Just a horse that knows what to do with themselves, as opposed to like warbling around. It's such a nice feeling. I'm going to let him walk on the loose rein here, just to get a little palate cleanse. I'm very happy with that. We got more accomplished than I thought. We'll bump it up to a lope here. Now, what I want to do is mix in some of the downshift transitions, like, lope to jog, lope to walk, like we were doing before. Getting them to kind of reach for my hands, stay engaged and all that. But I would like to be able to do some of that and some of this here out of a lope. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just do a couple transitions where I go jog to walk straight and see how he handles that before I lope. Because if you remember when we did that before, there was a few of them that were pretty shitty. Like, he didn't want to rate back to me worth a crap. Easy. But if he'll stay engaged and through himself and stay with my hand while also soft, that's ideal. So we'll kind of mix and match a little bit of that, because both of these things together is actually going to help our stop. There, I didn't even give a voice cue. I just relaxed. I'd like him, like here he's too soft. I'd like him to just let me have a hold of you a little bit more. Don't try to tuck your chin in so much, but I'll take what I can get. There, stay with me. Yeah, maybe toe my hands forward just a hair. Let me... There we go. Let me actually tell you some shit as opposed to hiding. There we go. Now come back to me, though. There's nothing interesting over here. There's just, I want to get him pushed up and kind of connected to my hand here. So I'm going to make a little bit of an issue out of it just to see if I can get him, you know, seeking that bridle just a hair. Let's do that again. Better, 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 better. Again, you know, it's right on that line of being too overfaced, but I'll take what I can get here. Okay, let's do a little bit of loping now. I'll do the same thing out of a lope. When I get a few that are good, then I'll stop and shape. But I'm going to initially do some transitions here. Might just start over here on the end. If there's a spot where he wants to rush me or he just doesn't feel good, we kind of lose our rhythm or he's not soft, I'll just turn that into a circle, maybe stay at the end or in a corner, and we'll go from there. See if we can lope off from a walk rather than trotting. I'm actually going to slow him down here because I want to do a better lead departure than that. That wasn't really good at all. He wasn't engaged at all. Now he's still athletic enough to do it badly, but get into the lope. I want to set up better. There we go. There we go. There we go. Now we can go somewhere, so we might circle, head across the arena, whatever. Like here, he just doesn't feel very good at all. I'm going to get him put back together. Kind of like going back to before our exercises, you know, getting him centered here. Basically what I'm doing. I'm still in his face here because I don't have a lot of rate. There we go. Get back to me here. That feels better. So, all right, let's head across the pin a little bit. See what we can do. I'm just going to go all the way down like we lost our center there. So I've still got him. I got a hold of his face. Just going to get him settled here. Find that spot again. Show him what the parameters are. That feels nice. Go back past here. That feels more put together. He's listening to me. We'll set up a transition somewhere. Easy. Drive up there, though. Get into yourself. There you go. I'm going to keep him at the trot here. We're going to round this corner. I'm still in his mouth here. There. As he starts to reach for that a little bit, I'll settle to a walk. Keep driving him up to it. And then give him the ultimate release. So I felt good things. I just had to wait on him quite a bit there. When I initially picked up, he gave me that mushy feeling that we were talking about, where his face folded in, but his feet didn't change. I got more aggressive, more strong with that. Then his feet changed, and it was more than just a process of waiting until he found that bridle again. Went forward up to meet it rather than trying to hide behind it. As far as the speed of his loping, I prefer a little bit faster lope here, like the pace that we kind of set over there. Once he maintained that, it feels good. You don't want to do too slow of a pony lope with this type of stuff. You want to get some impulsion going. We'll do that again here. Again, I'm going to be picky about my lead departure, though. Get him shaped. Make sure that checks out. If not, I would troubleshoot that. That spot feels good. Go across the pin here. Now I am going to pick up on him a little bit. You can see him, just kind of lost right there. Like he was leaning to the left, so he ran into my leg over there. He got kind of offended about it. So I'm just going to take a hold of him, get to our spot, get to our center again. Show him that it doesn't matter where we travel in this arena. I'm going to ask you to give me the same feeling. Now there, I'm taking him deep in the bridle because he disappeared from me. There, I'm going to wait on him here. Good. Good. Okay, now he's with me more. Go back across. Easy, much better. Ooh, much better. Good job, pony. I'm going to let him walk for a bit there. Okay, while not perfect, again, just like the turn on the foot, like you can feel a difference in how that horse's body feels under you and where the energy's coming from. And I felt a change in him there. There was more of an effort to stay put together and go to the bridle as we downshifted. Okay. Again, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to connect these dots. You guys can see how this is going to help our stop when we get this right. So we had slight technical difficulty, interrupted us, but we'll finish strong here. We'll do a couple more of these transitions. Just going to lope him off here when I get to the fence, see what it feels like, and then go across the arena, set up a lope to walk transition here. Come on, get engaged here. Maintain that before, during, and after. Good. Better, at least. Not great, not terrible. Just going to get him pushed up to his face here since he's a little bit all over the place there. Get him back centered again. There we go. Again, he oscillates between being very centered and then very wayward. Easy. Better. All the way to a walk. I'm deliberately leaving him up at that trot for a few more strides just to emphasize the forward motion. What I want to get to is doing at least one or two where it's like lope to walk directly. Let him walk here for a second, and we'll go in the same lead again. Feels kind of lost here again. Just got my legs on him. He got kind of offended about that, so I'm just going to stay with him here. Easy. Better. Find my hands, though. Don't just give me Play-Doh and mush. There we go. Just trying to bait him into coming to that bit. That feels really nice. Really nice. Easy. Good job. Good job. Good job. Let's do at least one more each way, and then we'll see if we can draw him and shape of it a standstill. Find my hands here. There you go. Yep. Got to maintain discipline about the type of balance we have and the shape. Just deliberately kicked his hip in a little more. There we go. We found our line. I'm going to be progressively more of a drill sergeant about that, but it's only been a couple sessions that we really started building our shaping on him. What I'm going to do actually there is use my correction I built. There we go. We had more engagement that time. That's an example of what I'm going to do more of as he gets better with all of this. Just help him find the ground, help him find his balance. That was really nice. Like how he was in the front end right there. Chef's kiss as far as the amount of tension I had. Now, again, it wasn't pretty, but we're getting some good feels there. See if we can get one from this side as well. Find my hands. There we go. Get to your center. You can see where that shaping is so pivotal, because if you just train based on maneuvers, they get so lost mentally. There's no gaps. There's nothing filling the gaps in between. That was good. That feels really nice. Easy. Come on now, I don't need everything here. Come on. I knew he was like he felt so good through his body, like with how round he was getting. He's really engaged. Let's try out of that lead again. He's a little ambitious coming across there. Just got to listen, find my hands. Oh, come on, you're better than that. Find the ground. Find it. Find your balance. There. Good. Just going to stay on this circle here. It doesn't feel terrible, but just a little bit lost, like right there. I brought my leg on. He really didn't accept that just then, so I'm going to stay here. There. I'm going to get him structured back up. He's more relaxed. Then we'll go across. Easy. Okay, not super smooth, but as far as tension and everything in the front end is really good. What you guys saw, walk back over to where it happened. What you guys saw when he kind of slid a little bit was him, like he was really using his hindquarters through here. He was good in the face, but he had engagement up to my hands. And without even really trying to slide, he found the ground with both hind feet. That's what I'm talking about when I refer to a horse, creating a platform or finding their balance or finding the ground, making their movement more efficient. he was really thinking proactively, even before I asked him to slow down, about how to carry himself in a way where he stayed more balanced throughout that transition. And he was so committed to that idea, he literally slid a little bit, did like a little baby slide. Okay. Now, without even trying, really. So you can imagine when I start actually trying how much of a stop this thing is going to have. But by the time we get to that level where we're running and stopping a lot harder, we'll have his energy and that engagement from the hind end. Everything will be in my hand. It'll be connected in the right ways. That's the whole idea here, because he gave us some good feelings here today. And again, we see those little glimpses, just little blinks of greatness that will keep developing and weaving into a little tapestry here. So I'm actually going to end it on that. He did one that was like A+++, like way over ambitious. Then he did kind of a B+ one at the end, maybe an A-. I'm actually okay with that. We got more done in this session than I thought we would. So we'll call it good there. See you guys next time.